morning. We're walking into the first of 11 Memorial Day events today involving active duty military, veterans, and civilians from Missoula and the Bitterroot Valleys. This service today honors the men and women of the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard who have died at sea, and to their families that grieve for them. My name is John Angwin, and I am the Secretary-Treasurer of the United Veterans Council of Missoula and the Bitterroot Valleys, and the incoming commander of American Legion Post 27 here in Missoula. I served in the U.S. Army with service in Panama and the Canal Zone, in Korea, and in Desert Storm. I am truly honored to be here today to pay tribute to the U.S. Navy and U.S. Coast Guard military personnel who died at sea and to the families that grieve for their deaths. The United Veterans Council provides emergency shelter, food, and gasoline to needy veterans and their families throughout the year. We deliver food baskets to shut-in veterans on Thanksgiving and warm socks filled with gifts to 375 shut-in veterans at Christmas, which we call Santa Socks. We also sponsor such veteran events as Welcome Home and Send-Off dinners. And we also participate in retiring tattered flags in a respectful ceremony on the Flag Day, 14 June, at the American Legion baseball field. Our all-volunteer members also organize all ceremonies for the Memorial Day. Never forget September 11th and Flag Day. So you can see everything during the service. I recommend you sit on the brick wall or on the hills to my right and left, so you can see the ceremony in the river. I ask now that U.S. Army Sergeant Sam Redford, chaplain for this Memorial Day, come forward and lead us in an opening prayer. As Sergeant Redford makes his way to the mic, let me tell you a little bit about this fine young man. He joined the U.S. Army shortly after September 11, 2001. Sam has completed a non-commissioned officer school and the Warrior Leadership course. He is a Montana native who is the oldest of 10 children born in Whitefish. He currently lives in Missoula near his parents. In the Army, Sam is a chaplain's assistant, and he also is president of the Montana nonprofit group called United States of Hope. He is a dad to 2 darling daughters. He is a shining example of the type of volunteers who step forward to serve in all our U.S. military branches of service. I give you U.S. Army Sergeant Sam Redford.
Greetings. Good morning. Beautiful day. We're going to start with a short dedication prayer for 11 Memorial Day ceremonies. I just have one brief remark. Today and this weekend is a very difficult weekend for many veterans. There are many veterans who choose to withdraw on this weekend. There are many veterans who choose to come to services. Reach out in your community to the veteran you know and encourage them on this day. And look out for each other. Many of the vets here do our best to look out for each other. And that's what it's all about, because we have a great legacy of men and women who have died for us and died for our country, and today we honor them. So please join me in a moment of silence and a short prayer. Father God, we dedicate these ceremonies today to honor and remember the men and women who served this country and paid the ultimate sacrifice. We remember their legacy, we remember their lives, and Lord, help us to support their families. We pray our services today would honor their memory and would honor you. We thank you for this beautiful day in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Sergeant Redford. Now please join with me in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. You have served or currently serve in the military, you may salute our flag, and civilians may place their hand over the heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, I introduce to you Elliot Oppenheimer of Boogaloo's across America, who will play our national anthem. Please feel free to sing with him as he plays the Star-Spangled Banner. Thank you, Elliot, for that moving rendition of our national anthem. This beautiful wreath that Petty Officer Second Class Ryan Run holds is one of 30 created by residents of the Grizzly Peak Independent Living Apartments in Missoula, members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and members of the United Veterans Council that will be placed on memorials throughout the city and county today. If you join us for all the ceremonies, you will see them all placed at various veteran monuments. The rest of the service today will be in silence as various aspects of the ceremony take place, so please remain silent throughout. As soon as the Missoula Fire Department jet ski boat arrives in front of the Caras Park overlook, the crew will circle the Clarkport River 3 times. At the same time, Sergeant Redford and Petty Officer First Class Run will present the fire department Captain Roger Gerhardt and Battalion Chief Kip Napstad the wreath. This concludes the first of our 11 Memorial Day services today. Please join our honor guard and color guards for the ceremony that will be at the Missoula County Courthouse at 11 o'clock. This ceremony will honor those who fell in World War I, and we'll be placing a wreath at the Doughboy statue there. Each faction station provides a charter bus for all our honor and color guards free of charge. Bus driver today is veteran John Turman, who serves in the U.S. Army and is a member of American Legion Post 68 here in Missoula. Baskets of red, white, and blue flowers, as you see here, are provided by Benson Farms in Missoula. Red, white, and blue wreaths are provided by United Veterans Council, but made by the ladies of Grizzly Peak Retirement Apartments, the Daughters of the American Revolution, and the VFW American Legion auxiliaries around Missoula and the Bitterroot Valleys. Thank you now for attending today. And we'll hope to see you at the courthouse there at 11 o'clock.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. To the military members, veterans, guardsmen, reservists, and military families here today, thank you for your service to our nation. We are here to honor the men and women who gave their lives for the country they loved and everyone else who lives here. Countless American service members have died serving in our nation's military. They came from every background and every corner of our state. No matter what their differences were in life, they all served their country and they all gave the ultimate sacrifice. Every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine knows what the risks are when they sign up. Yet our military has grown to become the greatest fighting force the world has ever known because people want to serve. Many veterans willingly signed up to serve, and they didn't see it as a burden. They saw it as a right and a duty. Our nation is grateful for their service and their sacrifice. Thank you, Senator John Tester.
On Memorial Day, families and friends across America gather together for picnics and parades, in their backyards and on main streets, donning red, white, and blue, to celebrate our great nation and our freedoms. But we must not forget that Memorial Day is actually a day to remember the men and women who have fallen in the line of duty to protect and preserve those same freedoms. I have been to more funerals than any man should. As a commander in the U.S. Navy, I have seen the bravest of our nation has to offer fight nobly for our freedoms and make the ultimate sacrifice to our nation. Every time I cast a vote in Washington, I think of these men and women and the sacrifice they made to defend our families and our nation. They did not die in vain. They died for our republic. In Montana, about 1 in 10 of us sign up to serve our nation in the armed forces. We are one of the leaders in military service. We have a strong heritage and a history of stepping up when our nation needs it most. With over 1.3 million soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen making the ultimate sacrifice, I'd like to thank the families of the fallen for their service and dedication. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to say a few words on this humbling day as we pay our respects to our fallen brothers and sisters. No person who has gone and fought for this country should be forgotten. We will never know everyone who has served, but we can look at our streets, schools, football fields, and communities and know that their service to this country has helped shape this great nation. The American spirit is stronger because of them. Thank you once again, and I'd like to say a short passage from the book of Joshua. Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid nor dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. God bless the United States, and God bless the troops who defend her. Sincerely, Ryan Seaton.
Thank you, Ellie. Now I have the approval of
Dear friends, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I'm going to have you read it.
Dear friends, this is Senator Days. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. It is an honor to serve as a senator to more than 1 million Montanans, and especially to the more than 100,000 veterans and service members. On this day each year, we gather across Montana and all around America to pause, bow our heads, and show our respect and gratitude for those who have answered the highest call of duty. Memorial Day is a special day in our nation. It is a day in which we thank those who have and continue to serve, and a day in which we memorialize those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to protect this land. For decades, our enemies have tested our strength, yet we continue to demonstrate our resolve. America and the world are better places because of the courage our veterans and service members have shown. They answered the call to service, and because of them, the world knows America will fight against the evil of oppression and for the advancement of freedom from sea to shining sea. Today, as we enjoy time with our families, let us not forget those who remain in harm's way. They are our moms and dads, sisters and brothers, and our dearest friends. I invite you to remember and honor the courage and sacrifice of these great men and women. Along with their families, they have given much for the country and the state which we all love. We recognize their bravery, their honor, and their commitment. If you are a veteran or current member of the armed forces, thank you for your service. We remember and honor the fallen, and we thank all who have and continue to serve. Sincerely, Senator Steve Daines.
I'd like to thank the representatives for reading letters from our congressional delegation. This ceremony at the Missoula Courthouse lawn pays tribute to the men and women that have given their last full measure of devotion for all of us. Because of events on September 11, 2001, the United Veterans Council has added a tribute to the men and women of the police and firefighting units since they keep our homeland safe. Memorial Day was formally organized just after the Civil War by General John A. Logan as Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Army. He declared a day of remembrance for all soldiers on May 30th, 1868. So it is on that day that we officially recognize our fallen soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. Even though now last Monday in May is the holiday officially. Our 11 ceremonies in Missoula on Memorial Day are the largest number of ceremonies organized in one community anywhere in the United States of America. We have all 60 volunteer honor and color guards and individuals participating throughout the day. The United Veterans Council operates as an umbrella organization for all the veterans groups here in Missoula and the Valley County, and that's why we put together the Memorial Day services here. Other ones will be at Port Missoula Cemetery following this at 12, and then at State Veterans Cemetery at Big Sky at 12:30. And then we'll hit also out the Sunset Memorial Cemetery and the City Cemetery and the Catholic cemeteries, and then Rose Park there, and then we'll conclude at the University of 5 o'clock with the new memorial there to Iraq, Afghanistan veterans. We're now going to have Ray Doty from American Legion Post 27, the former commander of the post, read the Gettysburg Address, which is what led to these Memorial Days that we have today.
The Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedication to the proposition that all men are created equal. We are now engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived, so dedicated, can long endure. We are yet on a grand battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives in that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will no long remember that we say here that we can never forget what they did here is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us from those honored dead. We take increased devotion to their cause for which they give the last full measure of devotion. That we are highly resolved that those dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ray. Ray's a Korean War Navy veteran. I'll now want to introduce to you our speaker for today, Captain Aaron Flint, who has been deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan and is a captain in the U.S. Army National Guard of Montana. Aaron is the host of the only statewide radio show, Voices of Montana, that broadcasts live Monday through Friday on stations around Montana, including Missoula's 930 AM radio station. He is the editor of the award-winning daily overseas news and commentary blog called The Flint Report. Aaron has served 3 military crews overseas in 2006 as an infantry platoon leader in Ramadi, Iraq, and later in 2008 and 2009 as an embedded advisor to the Afghan National Police in Afghanistan. Most recently, he deployed to the Horn of Africa. He's been a speaker at previous Missoula Memorial Day services because of his close ties to Missoula and a graduate of the University of Montana and the Army ROTC program there, and where he was at the university also president of the Associated Students of the University of Montana. I'll give you now Captain Aaron Flint.
Well, thank you so much, Susan Renault and John Angwin and all the United Veterans Council and the Veteran Service Organizations. Can everybody hear me okay back there? Okay, all right. And I want to thank all of you for coming out today to pay tribute to our fallen warriors. There's lots of other things we could be doing out on a beautiful day here in Missoula. And I also want to say thanks to the veterans that are here today, because Memorial Day isn't just today for you. You've probably already remembered several Memorial Days throughout the year. It might be the day that you lost a soldier due to an IED attack, back in March 8th, for example, for us, and or January 25th in Ramadi, Iraq. And so I know that for many of you veterans, you've already had Memorial Day several times over, unfortunately, by now. And so this is the time when we all come together collectively. Well, much like being a commanding officer, one of the hardest things that you can do as a radio or TV broadcaster is to call a parent who lost a loved one in combat. As challenging as it may be, it's a call that has to be made so that we can share their stories with the community to honor and remember the fallen warriors and their families. I had to make one of those phone calls when I started a new job as a TV executive producer shortly after I returned from my first deployment in Iraq. And as I spoke with the Gold Star mom on the phone, it became clear that she did not want to be interviewed. And so it was a pretty hard phone call to make. Oftentimes families want to share their stories, and they want to share the stories of their fallen sons or daughters, or their fathers or mothers. But sometimes people just want to be left in privacy. And so it was a pretty hard phone call to make. But I'll never forget what that Gold Star mom said when I had told her that I had served in Anbar province. And she said this, she said, quote, "You need to feel blessed to know that you were touched on the shoulder by the hand of God and asked to serve on that mission." That's what this Gold Star mom told me, if you can imagine that. And so it's a phone call that I will never forget, but it also got my wife and I thinking. So often on Memorial Day, we focus on the fact that these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, that they gave their lives for our country. But maybe we should also focus on why they gave their lives for our country. We don't just gather here today because these men and women died for our country. We're here today because of how they lived for their country and what they believed in. That phone call is similar to remarks made by Marine General James Mattis, who just spoke last month at the Marines Memorial Club in San Francisco. General Mattis said, "You, my fine veterans, are privileged that you will never face a judgment of having failed to live fully. For you, young patriots, were more concerned in living life fully than in your own longevity, freely facing daunting odds and the random nature of death and wounds on the battlefield." He later added this, he says, "Looking back over my own service, I realize now how fortunate I was to experience all this and the many riotous excursions I had when I was privileged to march or fight beside you. And a question comes to mind. What can I do to repay our country for the privilege of learning things that only you in this room could have taught me?" And this was the line that stood out. He says, "For today, I feel sorry for those who were not there with us when trouble loomed." Those of us who've served in Iraq, Afghanistan, or elsewhere have had the honor to serve alongside the greatest men and women America has to offer. And that is why we are here, to honor them, the fallen. I think many of us are also here because maybe we have a little bit of survivor's guilt. And we wonder why we're here still here and they're not. Why was it them and not us? And I know that's something that haunts many of us every Memorial Day. One of those better men, Lieutenant Josh Hyland. He was a 1992 graduate of Loyola Sacred Heart High School here in Missoula. He was the top cadet here at University of Montana ROTC. Everyone looked up to Lieutenant Hyland. Prior to joining ROTC, he served as an Army Ranger on the enlisted side. Later this summer will mark 10 years since Lieutenant Hyland was killed in Afghanistan. But I know for his family and friends, the wounds are still fresh as if it was yesterday. We don't know why the best among us fell and the rest of us are still here. But we do know that Americans should never forget the sacrifice that these men and women paid on our behalf. Not just these men and women, the fallen warriors, but their families and all the other Gold Star families across this country. we kind of live in a weird new world of tweets and hashtags. You know, hashtags suggesting which lives matter. Well, the soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines that we have the honor to serve alongside, they knew that hashtag all lives matter. And soldiers like Sergeant First Class Kevin DuPont out of Massachusetts, who helped save the life of a 6-month-old baby Afghan girl. He didn't just send out a tweet about lives mattering, he paid for it with his own life. And while yes, all lives do matter, I think we all concur that America's fallen warriors should be placed on the highest pedestal. And it's because of much more than just survivors' guilt. As Abraham Lincoln once said, a nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. God bless you.
Thank you, Aaron. I'd ask now that members of Boy Scouts, and we have several women veterans to come forward and present 3 baskets of red, white, and blue flowers to carry with the help of Civil Air Patrol to the Doughboy statue. Go ahead. Right behind you. These red, white, and blue flowers are donated by Benson Farm that has been in existence since 1900 on Reserve and 7th Street. Also being carried at the Doughboy statue will be a red, white, and blue wreath created by the residents of Grizzly Peak Independent Living Apartments, members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and members of the VFW and American Legion Auxiliaries in the Missoula and Bitterroot Valleys. As they walk to the Doughboy statue, we will listen to the playing of God Bless America and America the Beautiful by members of the Trillium Brass Trio. Great. Sergeant Sam Redfern will please come forward to say a dedication prayer for the beautiful wreaths and baskets of red, white, and blue flowers that will be placed at the base of the World War I Doughboy statue. Following the prayer, VFW Post 209 Honor Guard will do a 3-volley salute known by civilians as a 21-gun salute, and taps will be played by Elliot Oppenheimer.
Okay, we're going to do a prayer at the Doughboy statue to dedicate these wreaths. So we'll just take a quick moment of silence. Quick moment of silence. Would you join me, please? Thank you.
While they're going over to the Doughboy statue, I'd like to thank bagpiper John Happy, who's a member of the Celtic Drag Pipe Band, American Legion Post 27 Color Guard, U.S. Army Sergeant Sam Ray. going to go ahead now and I'll ask Elliot Upheim from Beagles Across America to call the colors.
Order arms. Left face. Left face. And the knees.
Thank you for coming out here this afternoon. This is going to be the first of two ceremonies here at Rose Memorial Park. I'm going to act as MC. I'm John Angwin, retired from the U.S. Army. I'm going to ask Sergeant Sam Redford to come forward. He's a chaplain's assistant in the U.S. Army Reserve with 2 tours in Iraq, and ask him to lead us in opening prayer.
Thank you for being here on this beautiful afternoon. Looks like we escaped the rain. Thank you for the sun. Maybe we shouldn't speak too soon. We do gather as a community to honor and remember. And as I've said at other services, I know as a combat vet, this is a hard weekend for many. It is okay to grieve. But let there also be joy in your heart in remembering lives that are worth remembering. Would you join me in a moment of silence? We thank you, Father, for the lives and memories of so many brave men and women. We thank you especially, Lord, for those that came from our community here in Montana, stepped forward, and paid the ultimate sacrifice for their country. Today we honor and we remember them. We ask your blessing upon this service in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Sam. Please join me in the pledge.
Stand firm. Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll play the Star Spangled Banner. I'm now pleased to welcome representatives from our Montana Congressional Delegation. First one will be Ricky Henderson from Senator Chester's office.
Thank you for being here today. To the military members, veterans, guardsmen, reservists, and military families here today, thank you for your service to our nation. We are here to honor the men and women who gave their lives for the country they loved and everyone who lives here. Countless American service members have died serving in our nation's military. They came from every background and every corner of our state. No matter what their differences were in life, they all served their country and they all gave the ultimate sacrifice. Every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine knows what the risks are when they sign up. Yet our military has grown to become the greatest fighting force the world has ever known because people want to serve. Many veterans willingly signed up to serve and they didn't see it as a burden. They saw it as a right and a duty. Our nation is grateful for their service and sacrifice. Thank you, Senator John Tester.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricky. Now, I'd like to introduce to you U.S. Navy veteran Wade Sims, who some of you probably know from the long years as a banker with the First Security Bank until his retirement in 1999. Wade served in the U.S. Navy from 1966 to 70 and spent service aboard the USS Ticonderoga and 1 year on swift boats in Vietnam. Wade was awarded the Purple Heart Medal, 2 Navy Unit Commendation Medals, Republic of Vietnam Meritorious Unit Citation, and Cross of Gallantry, and many other awards. Wade is the author of 2 books titled War on the Rivers, A Swift Boat Sailor's Chronicle of the Battle for the Mekong Delta, and This is Latch, the story of Rear Admiral Roy F. Hoffman. He was the treasurer for the Montana State Vietnam Veterans Memorial we stand here before today for being one of a few dedicated volunteers to make sure this Vietnam Memorial was constructed. Wade and his wife Terry were married in 1970 and now split their time between Missoula and Arizona. And I'll give you Wade Sims.
Thank you very much. My speech is shorter than the introduction, almost. Okay, can you hear me out there? It's possible? No, a little louder.
Loud.
Okay, this is as high as it goes. I'll do the best I can. Before we start, I want to first of all thank Susan Campbell-Renault for her Herculean efforts to put this event together. You know, it might help if you want to get a little closer. If you can't hear, maybe move up a little bit. I mean, I don't bite, I promise. Oh, you had them. Okay. All right, hopefully this will help you hear a little bit better. Anyway, I want to make sure I thank Susan for all her hard work. Actually, it was quite an honor for us to have Senator Daines at the cemetery today. I thought his remarks were great and appropriate. And I particularly want to thank Colonel Yakowicz for his very appropriate call to action for all of us as citizens. I thought it was a great speech. And I want to thank all the veterans that are here today, their families. I want to thank all the patriots that are here today that serve in any way they can. So thank you very much. As I said, this is going to be brief, but as I stand before the Montana Vietnam Memorial, I'm always struck by the sacrifices of those who served, those who fought and died, and many others who came home damaged physically or mentally by their service. It is important on this Memorial Day to remember their service, but it's also important to remember why they served. For we cannot fully appreciate their service unless we again reflect on the importance of it. I'm often asked by people whether the sacrifices during the Vietnam War were worth the price. 267 Montanans died. Nationally, 58,220 died and another 153,000 were wounded. That same might be asked of the Korean War, where 134 Montanans died. Nationally, 36,574 died, and over 100,000 were wounded. The Vietnam War was lost. Vietnam veterans were in many cases vilified when they returned. Korean veterans were in many cases ignored when they returned to face their wounds and heal without the support of a grateful nation. Those serving today are often ignored, their service unappreciated by many who remain indifferent. In many respects, this is true of all wars. The Continental Congress could not bring itself to pay soldiers under General Washington or extend their enlistments during the terrible winter of Valley Forge. World War I veterans were forced into begging in camps to receive the benefits to which they were entitled. So is all this sacrifice worth it? A question that we should ask today, and my answer would be a resounding yes. Servicemen and women don't serve, sacrifice, and die for no cause. They serve the noblest cause, upholding the values that are so vital to the continuance of our republic as a land of free people. They oppose those with values antithetical to ours. Servicemen and women don't serve for the benefit of the current government, although they serve at its behest. Politicians come and go, public servants come and go, governments may be incompetent, corrupt, inefficient. Abusive of its powers, and yet also provide vital services. These are not matters the military can or should do anything about. Rather, the military is about selfless service to protect our freedoms from threats abroad, and I would argue to represent and defend our American values. If they fulfill that mission, then their sacrifice is never in vain. The military does not necessarily represent what we are as much as what we should be. To serve in the military is to uphold the most sacred principles of America. Thanks, Susan. Those values are affirmed in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to serve is to protect our basic rights as enumerated in the Bill of Rights. The right to peacefully assemble, to keep and bear arms, the right to private property and to be secure in our houses, papers and effects, the right to a speedy and public trial, and most importantly, and I quote, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectfully, or, and I emphasize, to the people. This is a nation founded on Judeo-Christian ethics that inspire all decent people, regardless of faith. Those ethics include the dignity of human life, a traditional monogamous family headed by a man and a woman, a national work ethic
the right to a God-centered education, the Abrahamic covenant, common decency, and our personal accountability to God. These are universal values and are also the foundation of Western civilization. I would argue that the military, both veterans and those serving today, are the most important repository of our values, principles, and ethics. If you doubt it, spend time with veterans and those serving today, and you will find a deep-seated belief in our values which caused them to serve in the first place. So we have Memorial Day and Veterans Day to appropriately honor service and sacrifice. We thank those who have served and particularly honor those who died in the service of our great nation. We remember those who have passed on after honorable service. I had the honor of working on the memorial behind us and to have spoken previously before this memorial. On one occasion, I had an opportunity to honor Ken West, who I served with on Swift boats and who is on the plaque behind us. It was a moving event for all of us as his family came over for you to be with us that day. That day I also honored a great man and friend, POW and Medal of Honor recipient Colonel Bud Day, who was passed. After great service to our country in and out of the military, retired Navy Captain Charlie Plumley, a great patriot and friend, passed this year. And you all have your own memories of veterans that are special to you. And then as we stand in proximity to the Korean Memorial, I think today as well of Charlie Kirsh's. Also given the Veterans Cemetery. So yes, we honor them all today. But we as veterans can do more to honor them. We can make sure that we are still standing up for America's values, principles, and ethics. For many veterans, their service continues long past their discharge. Let's stand up for America. Let's defend her and support her in our great military. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade, for your service in the U.S. Navy to our veterans in this community. I'll now ask our veterans to do a closing prayer. We're going to have, and that will conclude the first part of the ceremony. We'll then ask the VFW 209 Honor Guard, American Legion 27 Color Guard to relax and sit down as the second ceremony begins. We'll have the Boy Scouts and the Civil Air Patrol help Susan and Campbell Renault and me as we hand out red, white, and blue wreaths to you and members of the audience who will walk to all the 18 memorials in this park. Escorted by Sergeant Redford, and we'll say a prayer at each memorial as an individual places a wreath at a page. Keep in mind that some of the memorials here are also the police officers who have passed away in uniform on duty there. Then Bugler Elliott oftentimes will take turns telling the story of Memorial Day as they walk around Rose Park. And Elliott will end the walk with the playing of a few patriotic tunes. So I'll ask Sam to go ahead and do his closing prayer here, and then we'll return back to the Vietnam Memorial.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Father God, we ask for your blessing as we are dismissed. We ask that all in attendance go in peace. Amen.
Okay, so please ask, I apologize for my voice. I had quadruple neck fusion, and when the breathing tube was put down my throat, it gouged my left vocal cord. And I'm afraid I have bad voice for the rest of my life. So, I would like to have volunteers from the audience please come forward and take a wreath, and you will be escorted by Boy Scouts and Civil Air Patrol, young men and women, and Sam Redford around the park. So please come forward if you would take a wreath. Martha, would you start us?
All of the beautiful wreaths you see here today that we placed at the ceremony that we had earlier and also at the memorial today were lovingly created by the ladies of Grizzly Creek Independent Living Apartment, members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, members of the United Veterans Council that includes the VFW and the American Legion Post Auxiliary. We thank them for their ongoing support of Memorial Day services. If you want to accompany them, go ahead. I'll make a few more comments while we're waiting for them to go around the park there. Memorial Day services began when the ladies of the American Legion Auxiliary organized early services at the Missoula Courthouse just after World War I in 1928. But modern services have been organized by members of the United Veterans Council of Missoula and Ravalli counties since the 1950s. Susan Campbell Renault was asked by the United Veterans Council in 1998 to take over the coordination and writing of scripts for the Memorial Day services. That in 2015, this year, has grown to 11 to include the Afghan-Iraq memorial at the U of M, which we'll be doing at 5 o'clock there. Yeah, okay. All right. We're the only community throughout the United States where 11 services are produced in one day on Memorial Day there. The United Veterans Council was founded just after World War II to help needy veterans with emergency shelter, food, and gasoline. We deliver 30 to 50 food baskets for needy veterans during Thanksgiving as part of a Turkey Express package. And we do also new pairs of socks filled with candy and toilet articles at Christmas to elderly, sick, and lonely veterans throughout the area, which we call Santa Socks. We also organize services on Flag Day, where we retire tattered American flags, and we'll be doing that again this year on Flag Day, the 14th of June, Sunday, out at the American Legion baseball field. So if you have some tattered flags or know anybody that has tattered flags, you can drop them off at the Missoula Textile Services. They'll accept them and pass them on to us. We're at the American Legion Post 27 on Ronan Street, right over here by the railroad tracks. We're down there at the VFW, and they'll pass it on. We involve the Boy Scouts in that, so they can get also credit for some of their badges. We also do have the UBC volunteers make hundreds of cards and give them to sick, lonely, and elderly veterans around the area for Valentine's Day and eat what we call our Cupid's Army, Easter Bunny Hop there at Easter time, and then the 4th of July, what they call a Firecracker Brigade. UVC is dedicated to help and comfort veterans that are active duty and retired throughout Missoula and Bitterroot Valley there. We are solely sponsored by private donations, so if you wish to make some, just let me know and we can do that there. We provide for veterans, like I say, a limited amount of funds for their need of gasoline or some food. Our 11 ceremonies in Missoula on Memorial Day are the largest number of ceremonies organized in one community anywhere in the United States of America. We have all 60 volunteer honor and color guards individuals participating throughout the day. We are honored to add this 11th service to our very busy schedule today to honor our young people that have given their all to us. All the beautiful wreaths placed at all the ceremonies today, including this memorial on the campus of the University of Montana, were lovingly created by the ladies of Grizzly Peak Independent Living Apartments, members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and members of the VFW and American Legion Auxiliaries, all who belong to United Veterans Council. We thank them for their ongoing support of the Memorial Day services. Our day-long chaplain for Memorial Day is U.S. Army Sergeant Sam Redfern, who is a chaplain's assistant in the U.S. Army Reserves, and he will open with a prayer.
Thank you all for joining us this evening as we remember and celebrate the lives of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon this ceremony. We ask that we would honor and that we would remember the legacy of the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans who gave their lives for this country. We ask that we'd remember their families in your name.
We will now say the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner. Singer Susanna Jean Cradwick of the United States of Hope will sing the Star-Spangled Banner. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Veterans may salute if they so desire.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Susanna. Yes. We'd like to recognize a Gold Star mother here, Michelle Bedard, there, whose son Andrew passed away in Iraq and is memorialized right here in front there. We appreciate you coming out and all joining us today. Now I'm proud to introduce Sean Grove, who is a U.S. Army veteran and director for the University of Montana Veterans Education and Transition Services Office. Sean was raised in West Virginia and graduated from Marshall University with a degree in counseling. He was a social worker for the West Virginia before enlisting in the U.S. Army as a Persian linguist. He was active duty from 2004 through 2009 and deployed to Iraq for 12 months with the 101st Airborne Division. His wife of 8 years, Ann, was born and raised in Augusta, Montana, and they're expecting their first child this summer. Please give a warm welcome to Sean Grove.
Thank you. You know, I just want to, I know this has been a long day for many of you today, especially the color guard, and I appreciate everyone who's come out here today for this. Am I meeting the mic enough? If anyone can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to eat the mic. Is that better? All right, thank you. I'm eating the mic now. But again, I want to thank everyone for coming out. I know it's been a long day, and I promise I'll keep this short. You know, this is, like John said, this is the 11th and final ceremony that we have today. And this is, you know, I just want to thank you guys for coming out to campus, in particular this memorial on campus to remember our fallen. In particular, our fallen Montanans who made the ultimate sacrifice protecting our freedoms and rights as citizens. You know, we all, every state, every town, every family, we all celebrate Memorial Day differently. Some of us have barbecues with our friends. Some of us go to Seaton Lake and camp out for the weekend. You know, I noticed the golf courses were particularly crowded today. And that's fine, that's great. I really hope that people enjoy their lives. But as long as we remember the sacrifices that were made by our Montanans who are protecting our rights and freedoms so that we can enjoy life and enjoy Montana as it is. So I promise I'd keep it short, but you know, I really thank you guys again for coming out. It's an honor for the University of Montana to be included in this ceremony, in this marathon of services to remember our fallen patriots. So again, thank you very much.
John. I'd now like the representatives from Congressman Ryan Zinke's office, Kit McGuire, to speak, and we'll follow that with reading of letters from Senator Tester and Senator Daines. Senator Daines spoke at the Western Montana State Veterans Cemetery at 12:30 here today by Big Sky High School.
My name is Kit McGuire. I'm also a veteran of both these conflicts. I'd like to extend my thanks to everybody for showing up here as well. Now I'm going to read a letter on behalf of Congressman Zinke. To my fellow Montanans, on Memorial Day, families and friends across America gather together for picnics and parades in their backyards and main streets, donning red, white, and blue to celebrate our great nation and our freedoms. But we must not forget that Memorial Day is actually a day to remember the men and women who have fallen in line of duty to protect and preserve those freedoms. I've been to more funerals than any man should. As a commander in the U.S. Navy, I've seen the bravest our nation has to offer, fight nobly for our freedoms, and make the ultimate sacrifice to our nation. Every time I cast a vote in Washington, I think of these men and women and the sacrifice they made to defend our families and our nation. They did not die in vain. They died for our republic. In Montana, about 1 in 10 of us was signed up to serve our nation in the armed forces. We are one of the leaders in military service. We have a strong heritage and a history of stepping up when our nation needs it most. With over 1.3 million soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen making the ultimate sacrifice, I'd like to thank the families of the fallen for their service and dedication. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to say a few words on this humbling day as we pay our respects to our fallen brothers and sisters. No person who has gone and fought for this country should be forgotten. We will never know everyone who has served, but we can look at our streets, schools, football fields, and communities and know that their service for this country has helped shape this great nation. The American spirit is stronger because of them. Thank you once again, and I'd like to say a short passage from the book of Joshua. Be strong and good courage. Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. God bless the United States. God bless our troops and defenders. Sincerely, Ryan Zinke. Thank you.
The next letter I will read is from Senator Daines. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. It is an honor to serve as a senator for more than 1 million Montanans, and especially to the more than 100,000 veterans and service members. On this day each year, we gather across Montana and all around America to pause, bow our heads, and show our respect and gratitude for those who have answered the highest call of duty. Memorial Day is a special day in our nation. It is a day in which we thank those who have and continue to serve, and a day in which we memorialize those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to protect this land. From Senator John Chester. Thank you for being here today. To the military members, veterans, guardsmen, reservists, and military families here today, thank you for your service to our nation. We are here to honor the men and women who gave their lives for the country they love and everyone who lives here. Countless American service members have died serving in our nation's military. They came from every background and every corner of our state. No matter what their differences were in life, they all served their country and they all gave the ultimate sacrifice. Every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine knows what the risks are when they sign up. Yet our military has grown to become the greatest fighting force the world has ever known, because people want to serve. Many veterans willingly signed up to serve, and they didn't see it as a burden. They saw it as a right and duty. Our nation is grateful for their service and sacrifice. Thank you. We'll now have the Boy Scouts and Michelle Bedard and Our Lady Veterans place the wreath there. Come on up front here, in front of the Grateful Nation Montana Memorial. Here, please go ahead. She wants to, yeah. She can place it on Andrew's marker right there if she so wishes there. That flower that she brought. Yeah. We appreciate that again. Andrew Bedard. We'll now go ahead and have Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 209 honor guard do a 3-round volley, followed by Elliot Oppenheim with Bugles Across America, who will play taps.
Fire. Ready? Fire. Arm.
This ends the day of 11 ceremonies to pay tribute to the men and women of uniform that served and died so that we are free to assemble today and live our lives as normal. May this day serve as a day of remembrance to those who gave their last full measure of dedication and devotion. Let us think upon the words of President Abraham Lincoln and all our American patriots throughout the ages that recognize the sacrifices of men and women that have died so we might be free. I'll now ask Sam Beckman to lead us in closing prayer.
Would you please join me as we close the ceremony in prayer? I just want to add one last comment. This is a very hard day for many, and it is okay to grieve. But there is also joy. Take joy in your heart in remembering lives that are worthy of memory. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and glory, forever and ever.
We'll now ask the color guards to go ahead and retrieve the colors at this time. Thank you for coming out again and honoring those that have passed. God bless America and those that gave their lives for us to be free and saved. Thanks, man.
No, don't have to. He can do it. He's being really late. Come on.